Supply chain module 1, the concept decision phases in supply chain strategies, drivers of the supply chain performance, competitive advantage to supply chain management. The module 1. Module 1.
Module 2?
Module 2 is the supply chain network. Factors including distribution network design options for distribution network, designing distribution network in various business applications, in supply chain and impact of uncertainty on network designs.
Third,
Network optimization. Optimization approach and technique, goal of architecture in supply chain factor including transport decision models of transportation selection, process warehousing management, reserve logistics. Fourth module is procurement and supply relationship, procurement overview, purchase process and purchasing cycle, supply relationship management, supply segmentation and supply evaluation. Module 5, SCM performance measure, importance of performance measure, introduction of SCOR module, type of performance measure, productivity measure, quality measure, customer service measure, and cost measure. Okay. These are the primary.
Nothing is mentioned about logistics in any of the unit.
No.
Right. But the title they are given is logistics and supply chain management.
Yes.
Now, can you tell me what is the basic difference between logistic and supply chain and distribution, physical distribution? You know 7 P's of marketing?
Yes.
What are those? 4 are related to goods or product, physical product, and 3 are related to services, right? So we always start with product, right? Product, price, promotion, place. Place is something which is related to this particular subject. Physical distribution. Place is nothing but physical distribution, which has something to do with our subject, right? And remaining 3 are process, people, and physical element, right? और physical environment भी बोल सकते हैं. Ambience जो बोलते हैं ना अपन, या बोलते हैं कि क्या माहौल है. Once you go in a private bank, you will see the difference. If you go to Alexa Hospital, which is located on Katol Road, and you go to Mankar, and you go to government hospital, so that is nothing but the case of physical imbalance. यहाँ का डॉक्टर हो सकता है 10 times better होगा, because those are all higher doctors. बहुत बार तो वो MBBS भी नहीं रहते, BHMS है. They want what? They are profit maker. Here the intention is different, and the imbalance is also different. So physical evidence of physical environment is related to the imbalance. ये 7 पीस तो मगर भी कर लेंगे, 8 पीस भी जोड़ते हैं बहुत बार उसको. पैकेजिंग, जहाँ पे पैकेजिंग को बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस है, जैसे आपका टेट्रा पैक, आप ये लेते हैं ना कोल्ड ड्रिंक्स फॉर दैट, कोल्ड ड्रिंक्स और फ्रूटी वगैरह जो फ्रूट जूसेस जो हो गया. पेपर बोट आपने देखा है? पेपर बोट, इट इज ऑल बिकॉज ऑफ पैकेजिंग. दे स्टैंड आउट देमसेल्व्स. पेपर बोट इसलिए इतना चल गया है, it is they package it differently, right? So packaging, especially for consumable item like foods, packaging is having a lot of importance compared to other things. Physical imbalance कुछ रहेगा नहीं वहाँ पे, it is a good. ये 3 चीज तो नहीं रहेंगे, but यहाँ पे product में packaging is very important. Product means product itself. The juice we consume is a product, and the outer the thing, and वो पूरा उसको अपन product ही बोल सकते हैं. If you just pick up the paper boat, that is product. But outer side is packaging, which is part of product, but which has higher significance compared to other things. Price वगैरह तो अपनी अहमियत रहनी वाली. Price आपका physical की कहाँ available है, तो that उसकी तो importance रहनी वाला. But especially talking about consumable goods, that eatables packaging is very important, right? So my question was, what is the basic difference between logistics? Are they one and the same? Logistics, supply chain, and physical. Let us start with logistics. What is logistics? What do you perceive? गलत हुआ तो चलेगा.
And supply chain.
How do you do that?
How do you deliver ours?
What are the processes?
लॉजिस्टिक भी तो वही है, डिलीवरिंग प्रोडक्ट.
लॉजिस्टिक्स में हम लोग जो भी हमारे प्रोडक्ट्स है उसको मे भी हम लोग एक जगह पे
एक जगह
असेंबल
पर
करके
मूवमेंट नहीं है, मूवमेंट नहीं.
कैसे किसी को
Planning and execution, how will you deliver and
I'll explain you. Fine, to a certain extent you are right, but you are not able to put it in proper words. Right? See, supply chain is something which is very holistic in nature, which includes everything, including procurement of raw material, then storing those inventories को अपन inventory बोलते हैं. Inventory process, finished good जो बन जाते हैं उसकी भी inventory अलग से बनती है, right? उसको stack करना है, कहाँ पे करना है, right? Then once the finished good is ready and once it is started to be uploaded in a container or maybe in truck or whatever the product is, वहां से logistic का काम चलता है. Logistic, right? Logistic means movement of good from one place to another. It can be putting a good in warehouses, taking it from the manufacturing unit, putting it in warehouse, and again picking up as the demand comes. कोई wholesaler बोलता है मुझे अगले हफ्ते इतना माल भिजवा दें, 2 ट्रक भिजवा देना. Plywood, for example, plywood comes in trucks. Yes, right. So I did 2 trucks of MDF, right? MDF material लेकर. तो वहां से फिर वो उठा के जब वो उनके वेयरहाउस में जाएगा, किसके होलसेलर के, दैट इज लॉजिस्टिक. एक बार उनके उसमें चले गया तो हिज लॉजिस्टिक विल स्टार्ट कि वो वेयरहाउस से मैं रिटेलर्स को कैसे पहुंचूं. फिर रिटेलर्स के ऑर्डर्स आएंगे उनके पास, देन हिज लॉजिस्टिक विल टेक केयर ऑफ रिमेनिंग थिंग एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटिंग इट टू ऑल दी रिटेलर्स. छोटे मोटे खेड़े गांव के रहेंगे, कोई सिटी के रहेंगे, बिकॉज होलसेलर्स आर यूजुअली 1 in number. हो सकता है बड़ा शहर है तो 2 या 3 भी अपॉइंट करें, बट देयर टेरिटरी इज डिफाइंड. होलसेलर्स को दूसरा होलसेलर वहां नहीं बेचता, एथिकल भी नहीं, और कंपनी इनके रूल्स बना दी कि आप ये टेरिटरी में नहीं बेचो. आप वंस आई डिक्लेयर यू एज अ होलसेलर, you will be taking care of East Nagpur, for example. Somebody will be taking care of West Nagpur. This railway line can be a dividing line. आप ये रेलवे लाइन क्रॉस नहीं करना आपके एरिया. So their logistic will start, the wholesalers logistic will start once this logistic of manufacturer is over. फिर गया वो रिटेलर के पास. तो रिटेलर का लॉजिस्टिक क्या, कस्टमर में विश्वास करता है. क्या हो सकता है कस्टमर ऑर्डर करे, he will be again having his own logistic. If somebody is ordering, जैसे साइट MDF मैंने एग्जांपल दिया, प्लाईवुड का एग्जांपल दिया, तो हो सकता है कस्टमर खरीदनी नहीं है, एक बिल्डर कॉल कर दे कि आई नीड सो मेनी ऑफ सीट्स. वो ट्रक से नहीं बुलाएगा, बोलेगा कि मुझे आई नीड 50 सीट्स ऑफ सच एंड सच टाइप, और कुछ वाटरप्रूफ चाहिए, कुछ ऐसे चाहिए, राइट. So this is all logistics, where a supply chain starts right from procurement of raw material till it reaches to the end user. This is supply chain, right? And physical distribution जो बोलते हैं, it's something similar to logistics, where you take care of getting the goods available, making the goods available. That is place of distribution. जहाँ से distribute होता है, warehouse is a good example, right? Warehouse से distribute होगा या retailers shop से distribute होगा. So that is place of distribution which has to do something with directly related with logistics. Again, part of logistics, place of distribution, जहाँ से मैं distribute कर रहा हूँ, right? So there is a difference. ये difference ध्यान में रखना है. बहुत बार अपन interchangeably use कर लेते हैं word, या बहुत बार confuse हो जाते हैं, right? Many of the books do not define also कि ये generally ये जैसे heading दे दिया है सब्जेक्ट में, logistics and supply chain. Actually supply chain is more than sufficient. Supply chain will include logistics, and they should have included at least 1 to 2 topics on logistics. So you follow the difference? नहीं यार, और कौन सा है? कर दिया क्या? सगळे इतके जिओग्राफी डिपार्टमेंट हिंदी इंग्लिश मराठी हे सगळं झालं मला ठीक बीबीएससी घ्या See, I'm going to show you one video on this supply chain. So this will further make the things clear.
What is a supply chain? A supply chain is a global network used to deliver products and services, from raw materials to end customers, through an engineered flow of information, physical distribution, and cash. Supply chain is a physical distribution and
this is part of supply chain. Distribution is part of supply chain. And this is logistic. यहाँ से जो निकल रहा है ना, this truck को अपन logistic
cash. Basic supply chain for a product. The below figure illustrates a very basic supply chain with three entities, a producer with one supplier and one customer. Four basic flows that connect the supply chain entities together are as follows. Flow of physical materials and services from suppliers to the end customer. Flow of cash from the customer to the raw materials supplier. Flow of information back and forth along the chain. And reverse flow of product returned.
This is also called as reverse logistic. Yes. When the product goes back, it can be through exchange, exchange of defective atom. I simply I do not like that. Right? It can be mismatch atom. Color मैंने t-shirt किया था pink order और मुझे आया orange. So I want to return it back. So it is again part of supply chain. It is also called as reverse logistics.
A basic supply chain in this figure is made up of these entities. Seller is a supplier who provides goods and services, or a person or organization with whom the buyer does business. Their generic term in marketplace is seller. Supplier provides materials, energy, services, or components for a product or service, such as plastic, fabric, electric wiring, or aircraft. A producer is the one who receives components from the seller to produce a finished good or service, such as shirts from fabric, crockery from plastic, power from electric wiring, or provides transportation through aircraft. The customer is the one who receives the finished product. That is the one who wears those shirts, uses the crockery, turns on the lights, or flies in an aeroplane. Strategies. There are three types of supply chain strategies: stable, reactive, and efficient reactive. Stable supply chain strategy is appropriate for chains that are focused on execution, efficiencies, and cost performance. They use simple connectivity technologies and have little need for real-time information. For example, table salt manufacturer uses scale production and dedicated capital assets. Reactive supply chain strategy works well when the chain acts to fulfill demand from trade partners. For example, manufacturer of sports team apparel for fans. When a team makes it to the next round, more products are needed. However, for the losing team, demand virtually disappears. Efficient reactive supply chain strategy focuses on the efficiency and cost management on the total delivered cost of finished goods. For example, in supermarket chains, distribution centers, logistics providers, and manufacturers cooperate to replace the goods sold in the shops within less than 24 hours. Flows in supply chains. There are four flows in supply chains. Information flow includes invoices, sales literature, specifications, receipts, orders, and rules and regulations. Primary cash flow includes payments of products and supplies. Primary product flow includes materials, components, supplies, services, and finished products. Reverse product flow
is also important. Yes. It will not be supply chain is not only meant for physical products, right? Products means physical products. It also includes services also, right? Like you must have an urban company. Urban company क्या है?
Services.
वो services they are extending to services. You want services for plumbing, haircut. You want to clean your toilet. All sort of services which are required by a typical home, right? So they are purely in service. They hardly sell any product, right? They are urban company. They'll carry their own material with them, and they'll just as your need है हिसाब से they'll clean your house also. They'll clean your what you call it cooking stove जो है आपका gas जो है वो भी clean कर देंगे. Whatever you demand. Refrigerator मैंने बुलाया था. Refrigerator was leaking, so I called them. So supply chain necessarily do not mean only goods, right? It also includes service that you are giving. Right? ऐसे और बहुत सारे example है services. Like जैसे ये तो urban companies are a very excellent example. Like medical services. Nowadays doctors are available on call consultation, right? आपको लगता है कि मैं hospital नहीं जाना चाहता हूँ तो doctors are available. They will charge you extra, but they will deliver service at your doorstep. Then you have all e-commerce company like Zomato. You order the food, they deliver the physical good. You have a food order कर रहे हैं, but that is a service they are doing. Similarly, you have big basket where you can order groceries and all other items, and they will deliver. They will serve you at your doors. They are not manufacturing those goods. They are taking it from different manufacturer, and they are just servicing you. All of you getting it?
Includes returns for repair, replacements, recycling, and disposals. Supply chain example. Consider a supply chain model of a bakery who sells a variety of cakes, and this baker is one end of a supply chain. In this case, a supplier is a wholesale food distributor that provides ingredients such as flour, cream, and sugar. The bakery is the producer who turns those ingredients into a variety of cakes. The bakery is operated by an owner who is the retailer and who sells these cakes to the customer. Supply chain in manufacturing. Consider a complex manufacturing supply chain model that appears in corporate supply chains. In this model,
can you quote example for this type of supply chain? What sort of example can you quote? This is a complex. Bakery का बहुत आसान था. वो एक जगह जैसे अजीत बेकरी, for example. Haldiram fine they have expanded so many places. But a small bakery usually will go and purchase few items in bulk, manufacture big things. और वहीं के भाई सेल करेंगे हो सकता है बहुत अच्छा चलने लगे तो they might open up a new brand. That's all. But what about this typical manufacturing taking suppliers from various different suppliers, tier 1, tier 2, right? And having more than one distributors, and this distributors is having more than one retailers. Retailers नहीं दिए होंगे. Ideally, distributors नहीं retailers भी रहेंगे. But this example I can give is automobile. Shooting this flow chart. यहाँ distributors को retailers नहीं रहेंगे. जैसे if you talk about Kia motor, for example. One is at Hina, that's all. He won't be having retailers. Talk about automotive. Maruti. They say Maruti Suzuki, right? But they don't have retailers. Now this flowchart suits the excellent example is automobile industry. Automobile, this manufacturer will purchase glass from somewhere, rubber from somewhere, tires, right? Cushions from somewhere, steel from some industry, right? Maybe Tata Steel or some other. So they have n numbers of suppliers who are supplying them inventories or parts or items. It may come through, they may tie up with one particular supplier कि भाई ये सब आप ही इकट्ठा कीजिए, हमारे पास समय नहीं है, we are into manufacturing, we would like to concentrate on our product. You take care. This is the data reason. ये बंदे ने क्या किया? He's approached to 3 people. He's taking it from there and then giving it to the manufacturer. Now manufacturer, this distributor may be for entire Vidarbha, this may be for entire Maratha. It depends. Now for automobile, their distributors तो काफी सारे रहेंगे. हर city में almost एक रहेगा. So this is a representative of a automobile industry. Further, you can take a textile भी आप add कर सकते. Textile industry भी है. और electric goods भी आप add कर सकते. जैसे आप bulbs हो गए, पंखे हो गए, Kaitan fan, Bajaj fan, right? Bajaj geyser. So plenty of examples are there. Like Godrej almirah, right? Cupboard जो बोलते हैं ना, नीलकमल. So this is ideally related to heavy or bulky also. It can be mobile phone. But mobile phone में usually distributor keeps under काफी retailers क्योंकि availability is a fast moving good. यहाँ fast moving good आ गया. कार fast moving good. आप decision लाइफ टाइम में एक बार या दो बार लो. एक बार ले लिया मैं 10 साल तो मैं सोचूंगा भी. एक बिजनेसमैन है वो ठीक है वो हर साल चेंज कर सकता है. But people like us and overall that good is not considered as fast. रोज के 2-3 यूनिट भी चले गए तो इट इज अ बिग सेल. तो for mobile is quoted example, but here then retailers will come n number of people. Also getting what?
You will notice the second tier of suppliers and more distribution centers and customers. These suppliers supply materials as well as services. You put the manufacturing at the center and suppliers of components to the immediate left. The Tier 1 suppliers have their own suppliers in Tier 2. For example, Tier 1 supplier might be a wholesale food distributor that purchases flour from its own supplier. This supply chain for flour starts from farmer's wheat field, which is supplied to the food distributor, processed in a plant, shipped to wholesalers, and distributed to the stores. No matter how far you travel toward the left, you will never run out of new tiers of suppliers. Primary product flows from left to right, and primary cash flows from right to left. Supply chain in services. Initially, the supply chain model was developed for manufacturing, but service industry has supply chains too. A few examples of services industries are electricity provider, legal advisor, real estate, construction, software house, and even federal government. In its broadest sense, service industries include all organizations except farming, mining, and manufacturing. Below exhibit illustrates the supply chain of an electric utility. It receives products, services, and supplies, and dispenses its services to home customers, commercial customers, and to other utilities. Firms generally pursue one of the two types of supply chain management: vertical integration and lateral or horizontal integration. Vertical supply chain management. It is an arrangement in which the supply chain of a company is owned by that company. Usually each member of the supply chain produces a different product or market-specific service, and the products combine to satisfy a common need. This structure still persists in some companies. Vertical integration enterprise may grow from an entrepreneurial base by adding departments and layers of management, or through mergers and acquisitions. For example, in an attempt to create a self-sufficient enterprise, Ford owned iron ore mines, steel mills, a fleet of ships, manufacturing plants, and showrooms that built and distributed the Ford cars. Horizontal integration. It is an expanding of a business by acquiring a similar company in the same industry. It is contrasted with vertical integration, where company produces different items which are related to one product. A company may do this via internal expansion, acquisition, or merger. The process can lead to monopoly if a company captures the vast majority of the market for that good or service. For example, a company that manufactures shampoo may add other brands to appeal to a wider customer base. Benefits of vertical integration. Its primary benefit is control.
Product is a similar category. Shampoo is a good example. And soap, talcum powder, all cosmetic products is a horizontal. I may be good at like coconut hair oil, so parachute. I may be good, that may be my cash cow. That may be my original product, but I may add some certain other products to it. Not only oil, but I can add soap, shampoo, all cosmetics, because I can encash on that brand. Right? So that is called horizontal. Whereas vertical is something where you have different products, altogether different. You may be into construction, like Godrej. Godrej are into construction. They are into FMCG products also, right? They are into like manufacturing of cupboard, as I say, and
No dependency for components or services. Operations can be synchronized with other company functions. Benefits of lateral integration. They achieve economies of scale and scope. They focus entirely on particular business, so develop more expertise, and they know their market well. Differences between vertical and lateral integration. When a company wishes to grow through a vertical integration, it is seeking to strengthen its supply chain, reduce its production costs, capture upstream or downstream profits, or access downstream distribution channels. However, when a company wishes to grow through a horizontal integration, it is seeking to increase its size, diversify its product or service, achieve economies of scale, reduce competition, or gain access to new customers of the same market. Stages of supply chain management evolution. The advances in supply chain management are reflected in each supply chain's development. There are typically 4 or 5 sequential stages globally and within organizations. Starting from stage 0 to 4, they are stable, multiple dysfunction, semi-functional enterprise, integrated enterprise, and extended enterprise. Every organization falls somewhere within these 5 stages. Some companies shelter from changes, so they are less advanced. Some took advantages of changes, and some organizations believe that they are in the most advanced stage. Step 1. Multiple dysfunction. The nucleus organization lacks internal definition and goals. There are no external connections other than a few transactional links. Below exhibit illustrates the lack of coordinated flows of information or solid relationships among potential partners. Such organizations have unplanned activities, more threats, less forecasting, demand and supply issues, and poor payment flows. Stage 2. Semi-functional enterprise. At this stage, nucleus organization begins to improve effectiveness, efficiency, and quality within functional areas. As explained in a below exhibit, information flow has been improved and functional areas have been defined. However, departments perform their functions one after the other. There is no collaboration between various departments and no partnership formed with customers and suppliers. Stage 3. Integrated enterprise. These organizations are fully integrated between departments using enterprise resource planning or ERP. This is a prelude to end-to-end supply chain management, as explained in below exhibit. Individual firms.
Here is logistics, right? And this ERP forms the major component of supply chain because it includes integrating all these different domains, right? Marketing, distribution, purchase, production control, R&D. Right? Almost all domains they have to integrate. It is integrated to enterprise resource planning.
Firm begins to focus on business processes rather than compartmentalized functions. Corporate wall links supply chain partners together. Stage 4. Extended enterprise. The firm integrates its internal network with the internal networks of supply chain partners in order to improve efficiencies, product or service quality, or both. Exhibit shows the advancements. This structure allows complete sharing of information across integrated networks, and team building and planning across corporate boundaries. What is supply chain management? It is the management of the flow of goods and services. It includes the movement and storage of raw materials, work-in-process inventory, and finished goods from point of origin to point of consumption. Every product that reaches an end user represents the cumulative effort of multiple organizations. Some organizations have only paid attention to what was happening within their 4 walls, while some did not. But the entire chain of activities ultimately delivered products to the final.
Followed everything inside here. We'll have small look. I won't play it entirely.
Major tech enthusiast. Recently, he attended a virtual Apple launch event where he witnessed the capabilities of the all-new iPhone 13 series. Instantly, he made the decision to get an iPhone 13 Pro. However, he missed the pre-booking deadline, and he's been waiting for this phone to hit the e-commerce sites ever since. After waiting for a long time, He visited the offline Apple Store, where the store representative informed him about an ongoing delay in the production of iPhone 13 Pro due to the supply chain inefficiency. Alex then went to a couple of more trusted Apple resellers.
There is one huge, because of this COVID, supply chain has been hit across the globe. It has impacted automobile industry. What was the reason? कोई कार जैसे हमने हमारे प्रिंसिपल ने किया वो किए 4 महीनों के मिली है तो हमें 1 साल लगे and this is happening across the brand. Go to Mahindra, you go to Skoda, you go to any brand, all waiting period is more than 6 months. What is
Transportation thing and
transportation is there, but what was the actual issue? Raw material. What was the name of that raw? Chips, electronic semiconductor. Because Taiwan is the main manufacturer. 51%. Almost, I would say, more than that. So that has hit the production. कार ही नहीं बन रही है तो फिर that has बहुत huge impact हुआ है and it has impacted across industry, not only automobile. There is impact across. Only FMCG products हो दिए जाए. उसको डिमांड काफी बढ़ी थी और लोगों ने काफी मैन्युफैक्चर भी किया. But automobile since nowadays chips forms the important concern because आजकल सब electronics आ गया है, all these gadgets and most of the car are like self-driven sort of things. इंडिया में तो नहीं है. तो बोलते autonomous car which runs on their own. Tesla is a good example. आप सिर्फ गाड़ी में ये डाल दीजिए फूट और बैठ जाइए. आप पत्ते खेलिए, खाना खाइए, तो चलते रहिए. ऑटोमेटिक. It is happening. It is there in Japan. Mahindra ने भी launch, UK में launch किए 4 मॉडल. All you have to do is just you can order the car also. आप मोबाइल से कर दीजिए, कार मेरे यहाँ आके खड़ी हो जाएगी. तो बीच में आए तो रुक जाएगी वो कार भी जस्ट खड्डे अपने आप चालू और आप बैठ के चले जाइए जहाँ आपको घर पे बिल्कुल आपके पार्किंग में पार्क कर जाइए आप एक्टिविटी बन गई. So that technology has come and that is helping supply chain. आजकल ड्राइवर्स जो ट्रक्स होते हैं तो आपको सोता है जो टाटा का है तो the camera will be faced on the face of the driver. Once he blink, then he put an alarm. जोर के आवाज निकालेगा ताकि ड्राइवर हो जाए. It will track where is the truck right now, what is the driver doing, whether he is in a restaurant or क्या खा रहा है क्या नहीं. यहाँ तक की टेक्नोलॉजी है. So this is all part of logistics and we should be knowing as a student of this particular subject. You should be well versed with where the technology is from. Amazon is delivering their products through drones in Europe. India में नहीं possible है. India they tried it in Hyderabad, but लोगों ने उसको गिरा डाला. ड्रोन पत्थर मार के नीचे डाला. तो वो इंडिया तो शायद सक्सेसफुल नहीं हो पाएगा क्योंकि ड्रोन जब ट्रैवल करेगा तो झोपड़पट्टी से भी जाएगा, बिल्डिंग के बीच में से भी जाएगा. और we Indians we know we like to play venture out. Adventurous लोग हैं. तो गिरा उसको. But it is happening in Europe. Italy it is happening. The drone will come at your doorstep. You have to pick up the goods and the drone will go. So this is all part of supply chain. And this is called as advanced supply chain. ये भी अपने को सीखना है. तो this he is quoting some example like automobile का जो बोला ना semiconductor. Because of disturbance in the supply of semiconductor, all the production was halted for almost years, more than years.
Seller outlets and received the same response. He then became intrigued about this term supply chain and how it affects the production of a big corporation like Apple Inc. Therefore, he began exploring this topic. He spoke with his friend Rachel, who works at Apple Inc. to learn about supply chain management and how the chain is disrupted due to international chip shortage. Rachel explained to him about supply chain management using Apple Inc.'s example. She said if you order an iPhone from the Apple Store, you'll notice that Apple is not precisely delivering the product on its own. All the iPhones available on Apple Store are majorly manufactured at the Shenzhen assembly plant in China. But before that, raw material suppliers from all around the world deliver goods needed to manufacture an iPhone to this assembly site. And once the product is assembled, it gets shipped to the storage warehouse and then to your doorstep by third-party vendors like FedEx or UPS. This means entities such as raw material supplier, manufacturer, and third-party logistics vendor are in consistent communication with each other until the iPhone reaches you. These entities and their communication involved in product manufacturing to product delivery is collectively considered as a supply chain. After listening to this, Alex asked Rachel how Apple Inc. has implemented this supply chain, and how can one design a sleek strategy to manage a supply chain that is not overly influenced by external factors. In response, Rachel explained, well, there are 5 stages for building supply chain management, and Apple has adopted these stages while building the supply chain management strategy. The first stage of building a supply chain is planning an operational strategy. Apple, since its inception, has had a clear goal: to provide the best personal computing devices to consumers. The initiative of Apple to scrutinize each app or program before launching it on the Apple App Store makes all Apple devices more secure. These pre-planned actions or strategies had been the most vital USPs of this organization. The next stage is sourcing. In this stage, Apple acquires equipment and materials from suppliers and then ships them to the offshore assembly factory in China. The 120Hz screens are exported from Samsung's Asan plant. Foxconn ships batteries, and the processing chips are manufactured and exported by TSMC. Then comes the third stage, known as making. This is the stage where Apple manufactures its products. The outsourced Chinese assembly plant majorly assembles all Apple products and ships them to the warehouses or distribution centers spread across multiple continents. After that, the next stage of supply chain management, delivery, comes into play. Here, the products ordered online get shipped to the doorstep of consumers from storage warehouses, whereas the distribution centers, on the other hand, send items to retail stores for offline sales. This whole shipping process is carried out by third-party logistics vendors such as FedEx. Supply chain management's last building stage is returns. Here, the faulty or damaged products during delivery get shipped back to the storage warehouses and then the assembly plant for refurbishment. Statistically speaking, 97% of Apple's supply
So this is the basic theme of what we are going to learn. अब इसमें कुछ सब points है will be धीरे-धीरे करके अगले सेशंस में we'll be going into sub parts, right? उसमें के जो points हैं, जैसे most of the things are covered here, but उसमें के जो difficult parts हैं, वो भी explain करेंगे. We have lecture tomorrow, right? Same day. और BA का थोड़ी मेरी मीटिंग है, कल अपन थोड़ा ज़्यादा करेंगे. सामने मीटिंग, okay. So we'll have a discussion on BA also, business analytics tomorrow. And सिर्फ वो इंस्ट्रक्ट कर दीजिए कि लाइव कोई ज्वाइन नहीं किया, send the link also.